Today we're going to talk about Harvest-Right, the company, my experiences with them. I've had opportunity to visit the manufacturing plant, to look around and to talk with some of the real professionals when it comes to the Harvest-Right products and these vacuum pumps. There's a great deal that people aren't considering and that they really should, okay? I'm Evan Rowell and this is Critical Thinking. All right, now as you know, I have made a comparative analysis video before to where I talked about the oilless pump and the oil-filled pump. And my opinions about which one I like or I prefer to use hasn't changed. I still prefer to use this one, although this one is still an excellent pump, okay? But let's talk about Harvest-Right first. Let's talk about the company. And let's talk about why it is that some of the angst that people will demonstrate because these pumps don't last for 5, 10, 15 years is unjustified, okay? Now, Harvest-Right in the beginning decided that they wanted to create a home freeze-drying system that was within reach and the budget of the everyday homeowner, okay, like you and me. They knew that they had to create a quality product, but they also had to strike a balance between quality and affordability. Okay, nobody was going to buy a home freeze drying system that cost $10,000, and nobody was going to be happy with a system that was worth 500 bucks. They had to reach an equilibrium, and they did, and they've been very successful at it. Okay, now shortly after I finished that last video, I did take this one in to have it rebuilt. I was expecting to pay $375. That's normally what they cost. After they have performed for as long as they're expected to perform. Now, shortly after that happened, my oil fill pump, which I was using, ceased to work. It just wouldn't draw vacuum anything lower than, I think at the time when I took it in, I was getting about 1,800 millitors out of it, but when they hooked it up and tried it, it stalled at about 2,700 millitors, and they said that it needed to be replaced. And I was a bit taken back by that. I was concerned, and you could tell that I was concerned. And the individual that I was working with was the managing director of their maintenance and customer service department, and he was talking with me. And I says, well, why isn't this machine, why did it conk out so fast? And he says, Evan, he says, you might have got a lemon. And he looked at my service, my records that I had with them, and he saw that I had bought this oil-filled home a couple of years ago, so the warranty was long expired. But he also knew that 5 weeks or less than 5 weeks after getting this one, I received this one, and this one went into storage as the backup. So it was pretty evident to him that this one hadn't gone anywhere near as long as it was expected to go. And so even though the warranty was well expired, he honored the warranty and he gave me a brand new unit. He says, Evan, he says, you deserve a new unit. You deserve to have your warranty honored. So he did, and this is a brand new unit. I haven't even used this one yet. I haven't hooked it up or anything. I was very, very pleased about that. Now, when I was talking to him and asking him why the unit quit as soon as it did, or why it's not expected to last a long time, I was asking him that question knowing that where I work in the mining industry, I work in a lab, and they have X-ray equipment in there that uses a vacuum pump similar to this one, a little bit bigger, but not much. And they have two of those machines. They're called X-ray fluorescence spectrometry machines. And because they cannot analyze the sample in atmosphere, they have to analyze the sample in a complete vacuum, and so they have vacuum units. And in the 20 years that the one machine has been used out there, and believe me, these things are used 24/7. That plant never shuts down unless they're forced to by something breaking or some maintenance that has to be done. These machines are going almost 24/7. Okay, and in 20 years they had to replace it one time. And I had it in the back of my head that, well, if that one's that good, well, how come this one and this one isn't that good? What, did I just get a couple of bad ones? And other people that have talked to me have said, well, I used mine for a year and a half and it conked out, and this one, and this happened to me and that happened to me, and I was using the wrong kind of oil and yada, yada, yada. And they were very disgruntled because they couldn't figure out why their machines were pooping out as fast as they were. Especially seeing how I had experience with two oil-filled machines that were lasting 10 and 15 years. Because in 20 years, I only seen one of those two machines go out and have to be replaced. But when the technician came out to replace the machine, I asked him, I got nosy, I asked him, I says, well, how much does one of those pumps that you're putting in there cost? What does that set you back? And he says, they retail for about $10,000. And I'm going, wow, that's quite a chunk of money. Okay, now let's compare that with this machine here that retails for about $300 to $350 on the outside. And you can even get it cheaper than that if you go through some stores, some places. And that's gonna kind of make you think, what's the difference? What is the difference? Well, there are actually two primary differences here. Okay, number one, because of the way that these are built, and they're solid machines. I have no problem with the way these are heavy-duty, well-built machines, but the pumping mechanism in them are not designed to last for years and years and years. The precision parameters of them are not what you might expect to find in a $10,000 machine. Okay, so that's number one. You're not getting a $10,000 machine here. You're getting on this one, you're getting a $1,600 machine, or I think it's maybe up to $1,900. And on this one, about $300, okay? And number two, those machines at my work are drawing a vacuum through some pretty sophisticated filtration systems that take any moisture that might get into them and any particulate that might get into them, and to filter that out before the machine has to deal with them. We don't have any such thing with these when they're hooked up to that freeze dryer. We are expecting them to do some pretty grueling tasks when it comes to being the vacuum pump on a freeze dryer. It's pulling in water, it's pulling in particulate, it's pulling in Lord knows what that's in that vacuum chamber. And although we're changing the oil out every day, it's going to have an effect. As a matter of fact, for all intents and purposes, both of these units are household appliances. Okay, they're not commercial use machines. They are not $10,000 machines. And so what I have discovered, talking to the senior tech at Harvestrite, when I was in the back watching him deal with these machines and seeing which ones were coming back, and yes, I even saw a couple of the new green, supposedly maintenance-free oil-filled pumps in there that had gone bad, and I don't know how long they've been out, but you can't expect these machines to last forever. They're just not going to last forever. Okay? As a matter of fact, about every year to a year and a half, you're going to pay a certain amount of money to either have this one rebuilt or to have this one replaced. Now you might ask yourself, well, Evan, what do you mean replaced? Can't you turn it in and get credit for this machine? No, I asked that question myself. And I said, well, can I rebuild this machine? And he looks at me and he smiles and he says, no, you cannot. And he says it's not that it can't be rebuilt, but we've tried rebuilding them before and they don't last. For some reason, once the pumping mechanism up here has worn out, you can replace the fins, you can replace all the O-rings, you can replace everything, but it loses precision and you end up suffering for it, okay? The machine only lasts for a few months and you end up doing it again. And I says, well, what do you do with them? What do you do with them? And he says, we throw them away. You have to replace the machine when it goes bad. Okay, so every year, year and a half, you're going to have to spend another $300 replacing your vacuum pump, and that's just a fact of life. You're going to have to realize that, you know, toasters go bad, blenders go bad, dishwashers go bad, refrigerators go bad, and you might say, well, my refrigerator will last me for 10 years. Well, you know, the pump in a refrigerator is only on for a certain period of time and then it shuts off. To whereas these things, both of them, when you're in you freeze drying a batch, you're freeze drying constantly. You are holding a vacuum on that freeze dryer for 35, 40, 50, sometimes 60 hours. If this machine is running, pulling in moisture, pulling in particulates, and it is not a high cost machine. That I personally believe that even if it was a high cost machine, even if I did have one of those pumps that I use on the machinery at work down here, if it was asked to do what this machine was asked to do, it might only last 2 or 3 years if it had to pull in the moisture without the necessary filters and everything else. But I was so very pleased with Harvest-Right, because when he hooked up the machine and he says, yeah, it's failed, and he says, Evan, he says, this isn't right, you probably got a lemon. So even after the warranty had long expired, he honored the warranty and he gave me a new machine. He says here, and he reaches over, he goes over to where he had the new machines, and he picks one up. It was right out of the box, and says, here you go, you can have this one to replace that one because it went bad. So this is a brand new machine. I haven't even used it. I was so very happy with that. They were honest with me. They told me exactly what was going on. They told me about the fact that you should be buying the oil from them, because their oil is the best oil that they have found to use in this machine. It'll help this machine last the longest. And to whereas a lot of people, they go off and they start looking for more expensive oils, and that's kind of crazy. Why? Their oil isn't real expensive, so it's not good. This is the company that makes this. They know what the best oil is, okay? And so from now on, I'm not going to throw away the Dairyland oil that I've been using. I'll use it up until I need to replace it, but when I do, I'll start using the Harvest-Right oil. I get all my products from Harvest-Right. I get my bags from them. I even get my impulse sealer and my oxygen absorbers and everything. Harvest-Right has everything you need, and they are an excellent company to work for, or to work with. They care, and they have a good quality product. And as far as these pump goes, these are good pumps, but they are not meant to last a long time. And that way, you don't have to pay $10,000 to be able to freeze dry at home. Okay, the freeze dryer itself, I've had it for a couple of years. I think I've had one relay go out on it one time, and I had one guy talk to me, and he says, well, he's an electrician, and he says, I know why that relay's gone out. And he says that pump relay, when it kicks on, it really should be a heavier duty one. But I've only had a problem with that one time in 2 years, so I'm not too concerned with that. So anyhow, I still use, or I intend to use, the oil filled. I've used this one for the last couple of batches just to make sure that it was working properly. But I think now that I've had it disconnected and everything, I'm going to go in and I'm going to hook this one up to it. And this is the one that I'm going to use. And this one's going to go into a backup mode. Okay, so that if this one goes out here in a couple of years, I'll be able to replace it again and use this one. I'll have this one to back it up. So with that, Harvest-Right has 5 stars from me, 5 out of 5. I couldn't be happier. Oh, and one more thing. Not only did he honor the warranty on this one, but I went in to settle up for the rebuild on this one, and he apologized for the hassle, and he apologized for everything, you know, that I was going through, and he gave me a very, very deep discount on this, so it didn't cost me $375. I'll tell you what, when I walked out of there and I drove away, I was just giddy. with the fact that I had been treated so very well by Harvest-Right. I would recommend them to anybody. As a matter of fact, I have their link there, and their logo is right there with their website. If you are considering home freeze drying and you want the best product that's on the market for home freeze drying, and you want to deal with people that will treat you fairly, okay, they don't gouge you, they charge what they charge. It costs what it costs. The investment is what it is, but because it's fair and it's right. These refrigeration units and heaters and vacuum pumps and everything else, they're not real expensive, but they're not cheap either. But you can be sure that Harvest-Right will treat you right, and they'll do exactly what they say that they're going to do. And quite often, a technician will talk with you on the phone, will hang on the phone with you if you're having a problem, and help you get over it. So with that, again, like and share my channel. I appreciate it. Talk to me. Tell me of your experiences. Tell me if there's anything else that I can do for you. If you have something that you'd like to see me freeze dry, or if you have something that a challenge that you'd like to give me. Also, as a professional photographer, again, I'd like you to visit my gallery. Just take a look around and tell me what you think of my photography. Talk to me there too. There's the address there, and I'll put a link to it down below also. But give it a shot. I think you'll be impressed, or at least I hope you'll be impressed with my work. And with that, I'm Evan Rowell, and this is Critical Thinking.